We've eaten at over 2,000 restaurants in the past 5 years. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And here's what you need to know.
So today, guys, we've got 10 things that we've learned over our travels. You guys know in our videos, we go to a lot of spots. We talk to so many different restaurant owners and operators, ones that are successful, ones that are just getting by, and ones that have failed. We know that the information in this video is just important to get out there, whether you're a consumer, an enthusiast, your friend's thinking about opening a restaurant, or you already have one right now and you need some help. You might want to hear these things.
And by the way, everybody, I understand we are not experts on the topic. We have not opened a restaurant of our own, but restaurants are a huge part of particularly the immigrant experience. So we're just hoping that some of this stuff hits home and some of this stuff is helpful. So if you guys are excited about that video, please hit that like button right now and let's get into it.
Number one, most restaurants do not make a very big profit margin on any food item sold. Yes, there are some exceptions, maybe pizza, ice cream, alcohol, but for the most part, the difference between a restaurant's revenue and their costs is razor thin. Yeah, that little slice right there, that's profit margin. Have you ever thought to yourself, oh gosh, why is this just $14? It probably should be 10. I mean, I could buy the ingredients for $5. Yeah, you might be able to get the ingredients for $5, but you also wouldn't be paying for any of these costs. Once you guys have spent enough time on the back end of restaurants, you realize how much activity and how many aspects of their day they have to handle for the smallest of profit margins. Literally, we're talking about 3 to 5% at a struggling spot, maybe 10 to 15% at a really good spot. Literally, guys, they're working nonstop all day long for that amount of profit. It's pretty crazy. So why would this gigantic or small group of people end up working like ants in a hive or sailors on the deck of a ship just to make that small amount of profit? It sure seems like it's a lot of work just to get that. Well, that leads us to point number 2.
Everybody actually has a different reason for opening a restaurant. For a lot of newly arrived immigrants, they don't always have the same opportunities as people born in this country have. So guess what? Sometimes their best option is starting a restaurant. Where I come from, I was a doctor, but you know, I'm not gonna go back to medical school, so I'll just serve orange chicken to Americans. For some, it's to maintain a legacy, you know, to carry on their parents' restaurant that they already started. Well, let me tell you, I thought I was gonna be knocking home runs, but being Frankie Jr. from Frankie Jr.'s ain't so bad either. For some, particularly the millennial generation, a lot of them are doing it for cultural representation reasons. Listen, I had such a complicated identity growing up in the South, and that's why I want to bring Louisiana barbecue vegan dumplings to New York City. For some, it's to get rich because they want to come up with a restaurant concept that can be replicated in many, many locations. All right, man, so I just cashed out my stock options at my fintech job, and I am going to start the quick service restaurant version of American holiday foods.
I think they started that like 40 years ago. It's called Boston Market.
For some, it's for camaraderie and just having a place for the community, their friends and family. Listen, man, I'm not gonna lie, we're not really focusing on the food so much. It's just a chill spot for the homies. Sometimes it's a flex because, you know, rich people want to open up a spot because it's cool. Listen, I know all the nightclubs and bars are all closed due to COVID and the pandemic, but, you know, in my $3 million build-out restaurant, it always has VIP tables. And it can even be a really nice jump-off point for a career in media. Just ask these guys. Listen, it can be just a few of those reasons, or it can be all of those reasons. But at the end of the day, it can be as simple as, I'm going to be happy if I open this restaurant. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Point number 3, the restaurant that you frequent the most might not even be the best or even your favorite, but you have other reasons why you go there so often. There are multiple reasons why you would pick a spot to be a repeat customer at. It could be price, location, ease, discounts, comfortability, you like the staff, it's down the street, you like the music, you like the lighting. Something that I really think gets lost in all of the Yelp and the review sites and the Instagram and all the Pinterest and all this Instagram-worthy food is that humans are creatures of comfort, and we just want to feel things that we're comfortable with, that feel warm, that feel worn in, like your favorite blanket from your childhood.
Listen, I'm gonna be real here. One of the most frequented spots that I go to in New York is a spot called Pho Grand. It does not have the best pho, but it's very cheap, it's consistent, the food is decent, and they have outdoor dining. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, it really just reminds me of a spot called Cat Sang in Kent, in my hometown where we grew up in, and I just get like a warm feeling inside when I eat there. So to be honest, we haven't filmed a video there because it's just not that interesting, but I go there a lot. Shout out to Pho Grand. Point number 4, people in general are drawn to personalities and characters, and it's no different in the movies than it is at the restaurant. Everybody needs lead characters and heroes in movies, just like everybody needs a face to the food. Listen, the food here is just decent, but that guy, Jack, who owns the spot, he's pretty cool, and I kind of want to be like him. So I keep coming back. This person could be anybody. It could be the mom who's there who always says hi to everybody. It could be the cute bartender. It could be the owner. It could be the head chef. It could be even the busboy that's just really funny. I mean, these are just characters that you look forward to seeing when you go to that restaurant. By all means, I am not saying that you can't make a lot of money and be very successful without a particular face or personality behind things, but that probably means you have a really good system. I mean, just to sum it up, it even applies to fast food. Think of the most successful fast food chains. They got faces. And of course, one downside of relying on a personality is that if that personality were to happen to do something that would get them canceled, that could hurt business for a little bit, for sure.
Point number 5. Do you have all the Infinity Stones and do you have all the Dragon Balls? There are actually a lot more factors that need to fall into alignment for a restaurant to be successful. Actually, there are some factors that you might not even be thinking of.
For example, have you thought about your concept, location, food costs, labor costs, rent costs, utility costs, insurance costs? Who are your partners? Do you have partners? Equity or profit share? Ownership to the workers? Do you have a good landlord? What's your contract like? Do you have a good attorney? Are you serving alcohol? Do you have a beer and wine license, or do you have liquor? Do you have your permits, your insurance? Do you have ranger hoods? What if a gas pipe breaks? What if a pandemic hits you?
And those are just a few of the things you need just to open a restaurant. Have you ever thought about what happens to ice cream or dessert shops in the winter? Seasonality. I think that there is a reason why running a successful restaurant operation is both so gratifying and so rare. Listen guys, I'm not saying that everybody that I've seen be successful had 10 out of 10 on all these 30 factors, but definitely they had at least thought about them. Wow, I just totally thought that my dessert crepes were really gonna overpower all the other things I was missing. I mean, who would have thought we're closing up shop in 4 months? You guys, I am just heavily suggesting to people that you get your ducks in a row, you get your cards in order, you make sure your house is straight like Game of Thrones, because even if you have everything in order, you still could fail, but you gotta give yourself the absolute best chance possible. By the way, guys, I do think that having a successful restaurant has got to be one of the absolute best feelings in the world. That's why so many people keep trying despite the failure rate. I'd imagine it kind of feels like being some sort of famous musician or sports star, honestly. But unlike being a pop star or NBA player, you could be fat.
And point number 6, a lot of the restaurants that succeed meet the needs of the people, and in fact, might exceed the needs of the people. What I mean by this is that there's a whole lot of innovative, really cool ideas with food. You know, it's very trendy to show your cultural identity and come up with something new, but to be honest, you gotta ask yourself, do people even want this item? I, Andrew Fung, might want it. I might know a couple other people that do, as you can see on our channel. We do like covering interesting stuff, but that doesn't mean that a lot of people need it. So what I'm saying is, in my opinion, if you're gonna venture off and do something very unfamiliar, do something very, very different and swing for the fences, just make sure that thing is really, really good. Or else it might be in your best interest to just do your own twist on something already familiar. I'm gonna be honest, I know about 5 people across the world that opened up streetwear, hip hop, and hype beast inspired cafes in the past 5 years, and I think all of them closed down. So I'm not saying that idea is not bad, because that appeals to me, I like it, but it might be hard to execute on. Come to think about it, one of the reasons why it might not work is because it's taking 2 very different things from different worlds and throwing them together 50-50. I don't know if that works yet. Why do I need to look at Yeezy Red Octobers while I'm sipping a flat white? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I mean, have you ever heard of rappers mentioning coffee? Have you ever seen a Supreme coffee bean? Or even coffee beans on a Supreme shirt? I don't know. My recommendation is, if you're gonna open up something, you know, in a big city, make sure your idea makes sense to at least 10,000 people within a 1-mile radius, because that's a lot of the people that are gonna be going to your spot. I probably wouldn't open up a very expensive barbecue meat spot in the most kind of vegan block in town. I mean, you could do everything right and you're just setting yourself up for failure. Just remember this, the flavor should align with your neighborhood.
point number 7, I generally think that somebody between the owner and the main chef, whether or not those are the same person or not, has to be attuned to what's happening on the outside. I think it's so easy to kind of get wrapped up in what's happening on the deck of the ship, which is obviously your restaurant. There's so much to react to. There's so much to handle on a day-to-day basis. But it is important to see also what's out there, because what's out there is your competition.
Hey, did you ever eat at that spot across the street that serves the same food as you?
I just try to focus on running my own race. I don't really worry about the competition.
You don't want to try it and just see what they're doing?
Nah, I don't want to be influenced by it. I'm just got the blinders on, doing my own thing. Now I get it. You do not want to be too consumed with what the competition is doing, because ultimately you have to run your own ship. However, it is important, because often if you guys are serving the same cuisine as somebody else within a walking distance, you guys are direct competitors. By the way, guys, I am not saying that I have never seen anyone be successful with the blinders on and not looking at anything except what they're doing, but it does make sense, because the athletes, they do study their competition and read scouting reports and watch game film, so you could do the same thing.
Number 8, something that was just mind-boggling to me after going to all these restaurants is that a restaurant with good food, a good interior, and even a decent location can still shut down. I mean, listen, there's like 100 different reasons for this. It can be a dispute with their landlord. It could be a dispute over their partnerships and equity. It could even be just because they ran out of cash and spent too much before they even opened, and they didn't open with a high volume of people. So you know what? They've just put themselves in a hole. I even know people who have removed one of their best items off the menu just because it was cutting into their profit margins. And if they kept serving that, who knows what would have happened. Dude, I used to love those ribeye pork belly sliders that you had on the happy hour menu. I ordered those all the time.
Yeah, but I used to lose money on every single one that I sold, and that's the only thing that anybody would ever order.
Yeah, but I'm a customer and I just want what I want, so I'm not really thinking about your situation.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't talk to you about this kind of stuff.
Listen, everybody, I'm only telling you this so that you can help build some empathy for what goes on behind a restaurant, what happens behind the curtain on a theater, whatever happens behind the scenes on a movie set, and what happens behind the watch face, all those gears that are moving. There's just a lot more stuff going on. It can get pretty complex.
Number 9, I think that the second generation of immigrant restaurant owners are actually doing the biggest, most important part of Asian representation. As far as Asians or immigrants representing themselves in Western society, I cannot think of a better way to do it than through a restaurant. So many different chefs and owners are constantly thinking about how to package their culture in a way that's consumable for their own community, for one ring outside of their community, for somebody who's super way outside of their community. And I think that there's ultimately a hope that it can build empathy between different groups of people that otherwise find it hard or rare to share something together. And being able to share in the love of a dish or making it accessible through fusion or adaptation or adjustments is just something that is so important, because it's all about our story and our narrative in this country. Asian representation in mass media is important, mainstream media, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of filters and gatekeepers that you have to appeal to or be approved by to get those positions. As far as having your own restaurant and selling culture, you don't need anybody's approval for that. It's just on you and what kind of ship you run. Well, I actually think that there are a couple of reasons for that. One, the pool of Asian restaurateurs is way bigger. And number 2, it's easier to relate to them, because at the end of the day, they are trying to explain, fuse, and just create understanding through culture. And that's what our mission is. And sometimes food and media are a lot more interconnected than you think. Eddie Huang started Bauhaus, but he also is now directing movies. So whether you are selling Baos or you are selling an Asian American basketball story, at the end of the day, you are still selling culture and you are still selling ideas. Number 10, guys, with all that being said, with all the pros and the cons that we listed out, we still want to open up a spot here in New York City.
Yeah, and this is something that we've been thinking about for a while. We have an idea, and we actually have kind of like a pitch. We actually have an idea, and we have like a pitch deck going. Of course, the restaurant's not open yet, but we are announcing that we're gonna be putting some energy towards this. You know, we wanna start this journey. And we know it is a lot of work, and there's a lot of things to think about, and we can't do it by ourselves.
If any of you guys watching this and know somebody who would be interested in partnering with us, seriously, there is an email in the description below. But honestly, I think that after eating at 2,000 spots, I think it's time to make it 2001. So if you guys know anybody who would want to be involved in it, there is an email in the description below. And I just think after being at 2,000 spots, I just wanted to throw my name in the hat. But it's gonna be a new concept. It's gonna be like, I didn't want it to be competitive with anybody. I just wanted it to help everybody and be a cool new thing that nobody's seen before.
David, the question is, are we going to follow our own advice?
You know, I definitely hope that we can live and learn from, the things that we've seen, but I do know that once you hit the ground and you're on the field, it is different.
The point of this video was not to announce that we're embarking on this journey, but it was really just to explain the complexities and help people out, because I know so many people are curious about this space in the industry. And honestly, we have so many friends that have opened up cafes and restaurants in the past few years that some of them already closed. I mean, some of them are successful and some of them aren't. So it's just, these are all the things that we learn from it. And we just want to share them with you guys because hopefully it'll just give you a better idea, better understanding.
I want to see everybody be successful, but honestly, it's not realistic. So we can just try to share the lessons that we can and give the coaching that we can.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching that video. Make sure you hit that like button, click subscribe, and in the comments down below, please let us know if we missed any pieces of advice that you think are important for people to hear. And if you want, you can even share a quick story about a cafe or restaurant that was successful or a failure. And I don't know, maybe we can all learn something from it. So you guys can also get in on giving advice or at least sharing a story. So thank you again for watching that video. Hopefully it was helpful. And until next time, we out.
Peace.